Hey everyone, the professor here, and we are going to jump right into our crude oil analysis. Now, we are finishing up the month of October, and I think this line right here is going to be very important when it comes to our support and resistance areas. So we are looking at the monthly chart, and if we grab this arrow, we can see that we do have some rejection. Price did come down, but as of now, we've only got 2 days left. We've seen rejection from that area. And if we go out way to the left, we can see previous occasions that we've come down and we've experienced that same rejection for an area of support, And then here we saw it for an area of resistance. So we know that this area is a very strong area that we have to look at, even though we are focusing on the monthly chart, because again, we always want to examine the higher time frames as we move forward. So on this analysis, we're going to be breaking down the monthly all the way down to the 15-minute chart. And we're also going to be giving you some trade setups based on some gap scenarios that may or may not happen. Remember, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East. And so that is going to impact the price of oil at any given moment. Any major news, there'll be major shifts in price. So we want to keep that in mind, but we want to make sure that we trade what we see based on the technical analysis. So let's go ahead now and jump into the full analysis on crude oil. Okay, so I'm going to leave this line here for now, and let's drop down to our weekly time frame. Again, if we look here at the weekly time frame, we see a couple of things that should stand out to you. Again, here we had that area of resistance. Here we had that area of resistance. Here to the back end, right? We're in the same area right now. So, what is going to happen there? And even here, we did see how this played as an area of support, even though we had a false breakout right in here. So we are in that critical area. And remember that zones are never a specific price point. They're an actual area. So we want to kind of look at that because we have not closed lower over the last 3 weeks. And here on the weekly time frame, if we had this Fibonacci level from our low to our swing high, we can see that we've rejected that 61.8 area several times. Okay, so again, just keep that in mind as we move forward, that this is a strong area that has shown where price does not want to close below it over the last 3 weeks. And even 4 weeks ago, we came down to about 81, but then we rejected, closed up, and then we went higher from there. So something to just consider in this area as we move forward. So now what I want to do is I want to jump into the daily time frame. Okay, so now we are sitting on the daily time frame, and again, we've got this area marked up that we found in our monthly time frame. And again, just taking a look at the last couple of weeks, the price action. And if you've been on my channel for a while, we continue to harp upon how important, 90% of this is just support and resistance. And then we incorporate other factors, as you can see, the Fibonacci levels that we use all the time. And again, we had a perfect retracement back down, a perfect rejection off that 61.8 Fibonacci level. And this is currently where we are at. We've been in this consolidation phase on the daily time frame for the past 3 days. So we see that our low has been somewhere around 82.16, right? That came here. And then our high has been 85.86. So we've been trending in this area here, which is about a 200-point area. But on the daily time frame, again, you can see here, that the candles are just kind of in an up and down state. So I'm going to leave that fib level there for now as we begin to progress through the different time zones. And again, as you take a look here, let's just go ahead and put a fib level from this low, and let's go up to this high. And just so you can see how you can build that consistency. And again, we saw that price came down. What I call is the kind of the Kmart special right between the 61 and the 68 in this case. And that rejected. And then we had this push up from there. So on crude oil, Again, for those of you that have heard me say this over and over again, I really like somewhere between the 61 and the 88. Some folks will put the 76 or the 78% on their fib levels. I leave it blank because I like to have that wide open space, and I look for entry somewhere in there. But you've got to decide on your trading plan if you're going to trade the 61 in between or what have you. Again, we like to find that sweet spot right in the middle if it reaches that high. And again, that's all part of your trading plan, whether you want to enter early on a 61.8, hoping it fully rejects there, or if you're trying to limit drawdown, see if you can get a little bit of a higher push in between the 61 and the 88, and that'll give you a better entry point when it comes to crude oil. So we are still sitting here on the daily time frame, and I just wanted to give you some perspective about where we are at. And again, we can confirm that we are looking at this key level right in here right now. So I'm going to leave that box up there, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this Fibonacci level, okay, just to kind of remind us where we are at as we crawl down the different time frames. So at this point, I want to go ahead and jump into our 4-hour analysis time frame. Okay, so before we jump into the 4-hour analysis, again, if you're brand new and you're getting some value, definitely hit that like button for me. That way you can help me out, spread this video out to more folks on YouTube that are trying to learn about crude oil, Fibonacci, and a whole bunch more. Also, if you've never been here before, hit that subscribe button, and more importantly, turn on that notifications bell. That way you don't miss any new videos that are published, and they can get to you a lot faster. So again, make sure that you are subscribed and that you've turned on every possible notification. So we are going to go back now and begin our 4-hour analysis now. And we're going to take a look at something in particular that happened at the end of the trading day on Friday. Now, again, we can kind of see here how, again, not to complicate things, but inside these charts, we are always going to see M and W patterns. And so we've seen that here in multiple occasions. Now, this candle is pretty interesting right here. Again, we did reject right off this area that we talked about, this zone area. Here's our 61.8. Oh, again, we're in that same vicinity, and we rejected once, twice, 3, 4, 5, over 6 to 7 times we have rejected this area. And then we had this huge candle, this bull candle, come up here on the last set of the 4-hour candles on Friday, which closed above this high. I think that's the interesting point that kind of dictates that we might be going higher on crude oil. This candle closure here could be the retest back in this area. But again, we're going to have to wait and see, especially to see what happens with any possible gap that will probably happen due to what's going on with the conflict over in Israel. So again, that is, stay tuned until the market opens on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the 4-hour chart, we can definitely see that we are in this area right in here. Okay, and we're going to be focusing in on this area moving forward as we drop down to the different time frames. But again, we don't want to ignore that we have seen, let me grab this arrow, that we have seen price come to these levels multiple times and have rejected and not really closed, other than the small closure below, which happened back on Thursday, October 12th. So it happened several weeks ago. We've been higher ever since then. And I still think that we have possibly some liquidity to come grab up here in our higher levels as well. So now that we've kind of looked at the 4-hour, now we begin to kind of develop our game plan, at least for the first couple of days of the trading week. And so we are now going to jump into our 1-hour time frame analysis. Okay. Well, that finishes. Okay, so before we begin the 1-hour time frame analysis, what I want you to do is go down in the comment below and look at the question on your screen. And again, if English is not your primary language, you'll be able to see this in over 10 different subtitles on your screen. Let me know down below, what is your number one problem with trading right now? Is it the mindset? Is it psychology? Is it fear? Is it greed? Whatever that may be for you, drop that down in the comment below. We're going to get back to you, and we're going to be doing some videos specific on what most people are commenting below in the comment area. So definitely go down below and drop that number one problem that you are having with trading right now. So as we are in this 1 hour time frame, again, I'm going to now begin to mark up some of these zones that are now going to be important as you start the trading week. That is going to be an area right there, and that is going to be another area right in here. So again, we can kind of see here that we are in this pattern of just up and down between 86 and 83. That is a 300 point area. And so when you have a nice area that's kind of been consolidating, especially for those 300 points, this is an awesome opportunity to do what we focus on inside of our members area is focus on grabbing 20 pips at a time. Okay. Out of 300, we'll find entries for 20 all day. So we're going to go there in just a few minutes as we drop down to the lower time frames. But that's why it's important to have that trading plan and understand before you go in what is going to be your entry and what is going to be your exit, especially in a very volatile market that we are seeing right now with what's going on overseas. So as we begin to look at this, we have to understand that, anything up in this area will eventually break. Okay, this will not stay forever, and this bottom zone will not stay forever. But in the meantime, right, there's definitely ways that you can do a low risk, high reward opportunity, especially when you start looking at all the rejection that's happening here, right? This is an easy one to say, let's look for a sell entry at all these rejections and sell it down with a very tight stop loss above this area. Same thing up, down in this area, right? This wick here may have taken you out, but the other ones you were very successful for. So again, the goal here is to find that low risk, high reward opportunity. So here on the 1 hour, again, now we've established kind of our floor and we've established a temporary ceiling for now. The next major ceiling on that 1 hour chart is going to be up at 88. Okay. Now, that does not mean that there's not going to be smaller areas in between. You've heard me talk about the psychological numbers. I like the whole numbers. So I like that 87. And as you can see here, right, not even looking over here, we can see how the whole numbers acts as support and resistance in most of the time when it comes to crude oil. So your 87, your 88, your 86, your 85s, your 84s, all those should be key areas that you should be looking at when it comes to support and resistance. So now that we've got our levels marked up here, several to the top side and a few down to the bottom side, let's go ahead and drop down to our 15-minute time frame analysis. Okay, and before we jump into our 15-minute time analysis, don't forget that at some point during this video or at the end of the video, there is a share button available to you. Click that share button, share this video out on your different social media platforms because you just never know someone's life that you can impact. Somebody may see this for the first time and say they might be in a situation where they need to learn to add another stream of income. And it's this video that they watch, they get excited about, and then they begin their journey there, just like you started your journey at some point. So don't forget to hit that share button at the end of this video. Okay, so as we jump into the 15-minute time frame, now we're going to begin to look for some possible retracements, and this is where we begin to mark up our gap. So we understand that price closed in this area right here. So we are going to mark the gap, which was basically 85.19, okay, on this trading view chart, which again is a reminder that you always want to look at your own broker's chart. The price action, meaning how the candles are moving, should look the same for you on your broker than it does here on this trading view platform. But understand that price is going to be different. My broker's price is different than this trading view price. So with every broker, price is going to be different, but you want to make sure that you're focusing on the candles, the movements. They should be similar in your broker as well. So as we jump back into the 15-minute time frame, we've labeled our gap, and we understand that these are going to be now smaller micro areas that you want to begin to look for when it comes to some possible support and resistance. Again, depending on what's going to happen, here is going to be our two scenarios. Let's say that we have a huge gap to the upside on the open on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and make that green. Then usually what happens is we get price not to close right away, right? We get price to come up to a certain area and then slowly we begin to come down to close that gap. Now, before I move forward with continuing to talk about the gap, let me make sure that you understand that gaps do not always close within a few minutes, sometimes within a few hours, sometimes within a few days. So make sure that you understand that if you're getting into a gap trade, my rule is 30 points or more, that you have to under leverage this position, because this can turn out to be a swing position, because this gap could stay open again for minutes, hours, days, or even weeks. Very rare that with crude oil it stays open for more than 1 or 2 days. Most of the gaps are closed within 24 hours, but that is not always the case, and especially with the volatility that we are under right now because of the crisis going on. Again, this might stay open a little bit longer than usual. An example of that is gold. Gold has now been open for an entire week from where it opened 2 Sundays ago. So again, that has everything to do with what's going on over in Israel. So understand that if you are going to trade a gap trade, you must under leverage that position. Now, if we do get a gap to come down on the bottom side, and I'm going to make that candle red, then the same school of thought will happen there, where it may tail away for a while, and then eventually we come back up to close that gap. So those are the kind of the scenarios when it comes to the gap. We don't know what's going to happen with the Sunday open. I can anticipate that there'll probably be a decent size a gap, but how long that gap will stay open, we really do not know. So now I want to go ahead and just confirm so that you can have these levels and you can make sure that you mark up your trading chart as well. I've got one more box to get rid of, and then I'm going to walk you through these levels that we currently have here. So if you need to pause the video at this point, what I want you to do is go over to your trading view chart. And again, you can see which chart, I am using up here in this area. This one's called US oil. Okay. If you want to match the same chart, or go to your own broker's chart if it's available, and mark up these levels based on this price action that we see right here. These are going to be the key levels. And again, these aqua lines are these 8700s, 8600s, 8400s. You can color code them however you like. And that way you can begin to trade that support and resistance off these areas on these key levels that we've already, identified. And I think this is a good example to show you that even though we're on a 15-minute time frame, right? This 15-minute time frame will also create another level right here. Okay. Now, if you look at the price of this level that I just created by hand, it was 85.53. So again, it's never an exact point. What does that remind us of? That is around that 85.50 area. And again, we keep talking about the importance of those zeros with crude oil. Crude oil has this psychological thing behind it that it likes whole numbers, especially the zeros. So the 85s, 85.50s, 86, 86.50, 87, I would really look for price there to react in one way or another, just based on the history. I encourage you to go back and do your own analysis, open up a crude oil chart, and just look at what's happening on the different time frames around those whole numbers, because you might put yourself in an advantage there to either exit a trade or not get into a trade because of what you're seeing with the price action. So as we begin to look at this here, again, go back and analyze your past trades and just take a look at what price has done around those whole number areas. And I think you're going to be very, very surprised. They can see a lot of support and resistance happening around those whole numbers. So these are kind of the zones that we are working with today. The overall movement on crude oil based on the higher time frames does appear to show us that we might be trekking back up a little bit higher based on that analysis that I showed you on the 8-hour and the daily, because we had that strong push and then we had a rejection down into the top of that zone, possibly indicating a retest of that area before we go a little bit higher. So again, thank you so much for watching today's analysis. If you got some value, again, as a reminder, hit that like button. I'll be updating our members daily, as we do in our chats, with regards to crude oil movements, trade ideas. So if you haven't yet joined our YouTube membership area, you can go down to the main page or grab the link in the video description, and you'll be able to click on that. And then there'll be a join button. Click the join button, choose Diamond membership. And again, for the price of a cup of coffee, you can come in with a group of almost 100 folks now, exchange ideas. If you want to trade London session, we have people that trade London session. If you want to trade US session, we have people that trade US session. And you can definitely connect with other people that are doing the exact same thing that you are doing, which is having a heavy emphasis on trading crude oil, in addition to other trade setups that we are sharing in our private chat area. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some value today, and we'll see you on the next crude oil analysis video.